From the John DeVita Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Wealth and Wisdom with Fred Belcastro on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Friday, April the 29th, the year 2016. And now, here he is, Mr. Fred Belcastro.
When you're smiling, when you're smiling, when you're smiling, when you're smiling, and the whole world smiles with you. And when you're laughing, oh, you're laughing, when the sun comes shining through. When you're crying, you bring on the rain. Stop your sighing. Won't you be happy again? When you're smiling, keep on smiling. And the world will smile.
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to the Wealth and Wisdom program. My name is Fred Belcastro, your host, and during the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about using wisdom to grow and protect our wealth. As usual, we're broadcasting this morning from the John DeVita Broadcast Center here on the northwest side of Chicago. And you're listening to us on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS in Norwich, Illinois. If you have additional questions, comments about the program, about anything I've said, or anything you'd like to hear me say, give me a call. The phone number, the area is 630-673-4360, 4360. Or you can give me an email. Send me an email at fbelsecure@aol.com. That's FBELSECURE@AOL.com. One of the things that I'm asked quite frequently is what my procedure is. What is it exactly that I do? You know, I don't throw darts at a stock chart and tell you which stock to jump on, and, like a stock jockey that sometimes they used to refer to brokers from retail brokerage houses as stock jockeys. But what is it that we do? How do we plan? How do we eliminate a lot of the losses that I've talked about each and every week? Well, first of all, I think it's important that we know one another. And I think in the process of knowing one another, and I think in the weeks to come, I'll explain exactly the process and the questions that I ask you, and I want to know about you, and what you want to know about me. Then, of course, we'll have to show you what it is that I do. And we lay that out, and then at the conclusion of that, I'll always ask a question. On a scale, I'll say, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how does what I do meet with what you're looking for? And that will determine whether or not we move forward. Each individual that I work with, as well as myself, have what I called a red velvet rope policy. There's only a certain amount of people I'm going to be able to do business with through the years, and there's only going to be a certain amount of people, or number of people, or individual advisors, or individual salesmen that you're going to feel comfortable doing business with yourself. And I said some time ago, and it's gone beyond that now, there was a time, after I'd had my CRD number for about 25 years, I said, gee, you know what, I'm very proud, because I've got that number. I've had it for 25 years. Now it's been a little bit longer than that. But for 25 years, at that point, I said I don't have any complaints. And I said I'm going to work real hard not to have any complaints on that number at all. So we use a red rope policy and saying, I'm only going to do business with people I like. And, of course, I know on the other end, you're only going to do business with people you like. But if you have any comments, anything that you'd like to hear, any suggestions about the program, just give a call, 630-673-4360. I'd like to show individuals what I do and what makes me a little different. You know, there's just a couple of ways that I can help my clients. First, by maybe finding better products that pay higher rates of return, and second, by helping them to become, I think, more efficient in avoiding the losses. Because I've said over and over, my philosophy on this program and in my career over the last 15 years is that there's more opportunity to help my clients by avoiding the losses than by trying to pick a winner. I started this show several years ago, sitting right at this microphone, talking about the beginning of the year, getting a chimpanzee, having him throw a dart at a list of stocks, and trying to pick a stock that's going to fare weather during the next 12 months better than the chimpanzee does. That's not what I like to do. So what I do is lay out plans, lay out programs that make sense, and the philosophy again, more opportunity for you and I to help one another by avoiding the losses than by trying to pick winners. Everybody's trying to pick a winner. How does that sound? See, and if that sounds fine, then we continue the conversation. If not, then we just part ways. When I begin, I like to explain to people that they have only a certain amount of dollars. The dollars that they have bringing into their home, whether they realize it or not. And maybe part of my job is to help people realize it, that the amount of money that we have is finite. There's only going to be so much money in the pot, so much money in the circle, so much money in the bathtub, as one of our listeners told me. So much money that we're going to have in the tank. No more, no less, whatever that might be. Some people have more money than other people, and some have less than others. There's one thing, though, I think that we all have in common. We all have this in common when it comes to our pot of money, our circle of wealth. And what's that? You're right. We all want it to grow. We all want to have a larger amount of dollars. We certainly don't want it to shrink or to go down, but we want it to grow. And when we talk about making our dollars grow, or the accumulation of money that's growing, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? When I say this to individuals, or when I use these remarks in workshops, say, what's the first thing that comes into your mind when we talk about how to make your money grow? How do you make your pot larger? How do you make your circle of wealth grow? For most people, they feel like, well, we've got to save more money. Maybe I've got to work a little longer. Maybe I've got to get a part-time job, or maybe my spouse has got to take on a part-time job, or maybe I've got to get better returns. I'm only getting 1 or 2% now. Maybe I've got to chase a greater return. That seems to be the answer for most folks. Probably 95% of the people in the financial service business, and the salesmen or the advisors that we run in, would have a conversation with you, something maybe along this line. First question that they would ask is that, how much money do you have? And the second question, where is it? And once we find out where it is, we say, we can do a lot better than that if you move your money to us. And we'll go to let me just say a soliloquy, and off the break, we'll go to the dartboard and we'll take a look at the list of funds and mutual funds. Oh yeah, that's one. Look at what that did. That darling did 12% last year. Got to jump on that one. Come on, most advisors want to spend time doing that, trying to pick a stock or a mutual fund that's better. And what I share with my individual clients is, I think, what makes me just a little different. After being in the business a length of time, and I don't like to hammer the point, but man, I've seen a couple of generations of salesmen, advisors, and in the financial service industry, to know that let's just simplify it. Let's just lay it out to where it is. 3 types of money. And that's what I talk about to my clients. The 3 types. First one that gets all the attention is the accumulated money. Remember, how much do you have? Where's it at? This is the accumulated pot that we have. This is the bathtub money, the bank money, the 401k money, your serious money. And that's what's focused on by most financial advisors or salesmen. This represents the amount of money you have saved, the total amount, or you're currently saving. That's the one type of money. Another type is, of course, the lifestyle. This is the amount of money that you're spending just living, just maintaining your current standard of living. Where you live, the neighborhood, the home, what you eat, how many times you go out eating, your vacations, and send them. This is the lifestyle, the money that has to be spent on your standard of living. So let me ask you a question at this point, and I'd like you to think about this. When you're told that we have a better investment, we have a better return, how much energy, how much time would you like to spend towards reducing your present standard of living so that you could save more money? We all know that we need to save more dollars, but how much energy do we spend thinking about, well, I'd like to reduce my standard of living. I'd like to eat less out, like to stop taking vacations. Maybe we could live in a less expensive neighborhood. Maybe we could downsize. Maybe we could have one of those tiny houses we hear or see about. We need to save more. We all know that. We want to do it, but the only way we know how to get the money to save more is by reducing our lifestyle or our standard of living. But no, wait, there's something more to come. And that brings us to the third type of money that I talk to my clients about, which is the transferred money, which is money, and it's believe me, it's a big problem for a lot of people. And this focus on the additional kind of money, the third type of money, the transferred money, the dollars that we're losing or spending unknowingly, unnecessarily, is what I believe makes my practice unique. The transferred money, let me just make it clear, is the money that you might be transferring unknowingly and unnecessarily, because if you knew about it, you certainly, I know you're intelligent enough, you apply the wisdom to not do it. Such as the untransferred, unnecessary money is, gee, how do you pay for your home? How do you pay for the mortgage? Should you put down a little bit on the mortgage? Should you owe a lot? Should you refinance? Or should you pay it off? Or pay down, make a down payment that's 30 or 40 or maybe 50%. How do we pay our taxes today? And in the future, how do we plan on taking our withdrawals from our qualified money, be it IRA, individual IRAs, or 403Bs or 401s? How do we fund it? How do we put the money into our accounts? Are we using the most efficient and effective way of funding and paying our taxes? How about the non-deductible interest we have? How do we pay for that new washer and dryer? We go over to H.H. Gregg and sign up on one of their accounts. How do we make those major purchases, like maybe college? How are we funding the college? Do we have that 529 plan? Is that the best? Have we looked at the numbers? Have we forecasted anything as to what this may be costing us a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now? Listen, I'm not saying don't put money away from college, but there's ways of doing it that are to your advantage, and certainly not to someone else's advantage. How do we buy our cars? Remember, we talked about the debtor saver, wealth creator. I don't know if I mentioned that on the show at any time, but there's methods of making our large major purchases that we should know. We should be utilizing, or at least give ourselves an opportunity or a chance of doing that. Why don't you let me take a break and have a sip of coffee, and then we'll get by to the rest of the show.
I'll get by as long as I have you. Say what care I, dear, I'll get by as long as I have you. Though you may be far away, it's true. Say what care I, dear, I'll get by as long as I have you.
That was recorded in 1961 by Shirley Bassey. Actually, though, that song was written 1928. I'll Get By. Returning to the comments and the discussion that we're having. Again, any questions, any comments, anything that you'd like to hear me talk about or have a conversation with me about, 630-673-4360. All right, at this point, I would look at working together. If I could find the money that we're currently losing and bring it back to the table, return it to you, recapture those dollars, would you agree that most of it should go into your accumulated assets so that maybe the future is a little brighter, the journey that we take through life is a little more solid? But being in the business as long as I've been, I'm a realist too, knowing that some of the money that we find is going to go into our lifestyle. We're going to be able to maybe make that journey that I just spoke about a little more pleasant. Maybe buy a new car, take a better vacation, do something for the kids or grandchildren that we weren't planning on doing. But that's part of life. That's part of making the reason for working, the joy of working, the joy of doing what we do so much better. Helping someone that we care about, helping those that we love. And if that sounds like what someone is looking for, then we can proceed. We can move forward. But let me tell you a little bit about opportunity costs. That's a term that I use, and it's a fact. There's interest expenses, and then there's, of course, the opportunity costs. And we've talked about this extensively. This was brought, I think, to the forefront around 1981 when Coca-Cola started doing it, started putting into their practice the cost of materials just sitting there. We've capitalized with individual equipment, and there's a price for that equipment, there's a rate for that equipment, and unless we account for it, we won't efficiently calculate the amount of dollars that we have. So for you and I, the opportunity costs merely mean that if we lose $1, or if we unnecessarily pay $1, for instance, you paid $1 in taxes that you didn't have to pay because we miscalculated. We lost that buck. That $1's gone. We'll never get it back. Gone forever. But we not only lost that $1, my friends, but we lost what that $1 would have earned us if we were able to keep it and not pay it. That is opportunity cost. What it costs us, not just on the transfer of the money, the loss of the money, the expense of the money. We paid the $1. We not only gave up that $1, never to see it again, and we gave up whatever that $1 would have earned us. That's opportunity costs, and that's what businesses look at. Let me give you an example. Let's suppose we buy cars. You buy a car, one car for the full 40 years, from 25 to 65, or from 20 to 70, 50 years. You buy one car, or do you buy a car and then you have to pay for the car and then buy another car and then pay for the car? Well, when we buy a car, do we finance it? The interest then is the wealth transfer. This is what I'm talking about. We're giving up the interest for the use of their money in which to pay the service of debt, the car expense. And with that, of course, we have the opportunity costs. Do you ever take a look at it? Does anyone ever show you that? So let's take a car. Today it's maybe a $40,000 car, and we're going to finance it for 5 years, 60 months at 5%. We're going to get a deal at 5%. We calculate the financing. Here's the interest that we pay. In 5 years, we've paid on $40,000 at 5%. We've paid $5,200, $5,291, almost $5,300. You say, well, that's not too bad, Fred. It's $5,300. But if we trade a car every couple of years, and in our 40-year lifespan of purchasing cars, that's 20 times. So if we take 20 times that $5,000, that's $100,000. Whoa, $100,000 we've given up in just interest on our automobiles. Now that's the cost, but what about the opportunity cost to finance each and every one of those cars? You want to focus on that number. It's not just the cost of the car that we've paid for. $40,000 car, if we put a small inflation of 3% on the purchasing prices. It's not just the cost of that car. It's what it costs us totally to finance that car. The cost of the automobile, the interest that we paid on that debt, and the opportunity cost on that interest. Not just the cost. The cost of financing that car, the illustration I gave you, that $40,000 car over the next 40 years, purchasing cars every couple of years, is $390,000. That's what it costs. Transfer fees and opportunity cost. You see? So that's almost $400,000 that you're giving away. Now, you're not going to be able to save all the transfer costs, all the opportunity costs. We're going to have some transfer fees, but do you realize that automobiles have cost us an additional $400,000? Is there a more efficient, is there more an effective way of paying for these known expenses? See, we have our left pocket, we're putting away money for our retirement, trying to reach a goal of $1 million or whatever it might be in our accumulated money. Huff and puff, just like the wolf, trying to blow the houses down. We're working hard, and we're working and putting money into our retirement plans, and we've got all this locked up until we're at age 70, or we certainly won't take it out before 59 and a half because of penalties, which they can change, and interest rates that they can change, and tax rates that they can change. Huff, you get the idea? We're on the treadmill. We're taking it out of our pocket and putting it away for our retirement. When right out of our left pocket, you can see almost $500,000 in interest and opportunity costs are spent. You see? Now, I think it's important to get your arms around this, but why don't we take another break and listen to that other tune? And I mentioned to John, Mr. David, directing our program today. I don't think I'm going to apologize for it, but maybe I will. I don't know. Let's take a break and see.
Today I passed you on the street, and my heart fell at your feet. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. Somebody else stood by your side, and he looked so satisfied. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. A picture from the past came slowly stealing as I brushed your arm and walked so close to you. Then suddenly I got that old time feeling. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. It's hard to know another's lips will kiss you and hold you just the way I used to do. Oh, heaven only knows how much I miss you. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you.
Nobody ever has to apologize for Hank Williams, the one and only Hank Williams. I can't help it if I'm still in love with you. It was a joy to play that song once again. All right, what am I saying? And we'll finish up by just mentioning this. You understand, when you're talking to somebody, and I'm going to try and help individual clients, rather than say this mutual fund averaged 12%, 15, or you can get 20. Come on, folks. First of all, why don't we try to save some of that $400,000? And that's just on automobiles. You know, there's the whole list of credit cards, revolving cards, how we pay our mortgage, how we finance our retirement plan, the way we handle and pay our tax. There's a whole amount of dollars that nobody's telling us about. Nobody's saying, listen, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to show you about the transfer fees and opportunity costs, and we're going to do that first. Do you want to buy a mutual fund? We'll show you a mutual fund. There's thousands of them. You say, there's 1,000 mutual funds, but right here we can save money without taking on any more risk. We save $1. What did it cost us? What did we risk saving that dollar? What I'm saying is that you've got to be in control of your money. You're either going to be in control or you're going to relinquish control. You're going to give the control of your dollars to somebody else, maybe a bank or a savings and loan or a finance company. But this is your money. This is the amount of dollars that you get up at 5 o'clock every day for. Right now it's getting a little bit lighter in the morning. It's not as bad. But how about when there's 6-8 inches of snow? How about if you're parked in the garage and you have to shovel before you can get to work every day, each and every day? And what? You're earning a fine living and you want to throw big pieces of it away to finance companies or to other individuals? Why don't we concern ourselves with the wisdom? Let's be a little smarter. Let's take a look. Listen, you don't have to do anything about the thing. You just say, I like things just the way they are, and keep them the way they are. You see, but at least know about it. Let's make an application of some of the knowledge that we have, and that's what the wisdom part about it is. Anyone can talk about picking a stock or what this glory hole is going to do for you today or tomorrow. But let's learn some basics. We're going to either be a customer of these finance companies or we're going to be in control of our money. The question is, which one do we want to be? Why don't we pick this up again next week? Thanks for listening. Our time is just about up. It's another cold day. It's going to get better. Believe me, I think it is. Nevertheless, with the days that we have ahead, why don't we do something kind for one another? Thanks for listening to the show. Appreciate your feedback, and let's go out and make somebody smile, huh? Talk to you next week.
When you're smiling, when you're smiling, when you're smiling, when you're smiling, and the whole world smiles with you. And when you're laughing, oh, you're laughing, when the sun comes shining through. When you're crying, you you bring on the rain, stop your sighing. Won't you be happy again? When you're smiling, keep on smiling, and the world will smile with you. Let's go now.
You have been listening to Wealth and Wisdom with Fred Belcastro from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Friday, April the 29th, the year 2016. This broadcast was directed by John DeVita. Our special thanks to radio station manager Kevin Zeflik of WRHS FM Norwich and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Secondo. Until next time, please, friends, be safe and thanks for listening. And this broadcast was pre-recorded on Wednesday, April the 27th, the year 2016. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich, a Ridgewood Community High School radio station. Hey friends, have a safe and wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week.